Hello gentlemen, how are you? I'm Oscar Brock. Welcome to the channel and welcome to another day of Pokemon top content, and in this case we're going to talk about Pokemon Team Teamloke. I uploaded a video for you guys recently, very interesting, about the topic of Team Teamloke, what he thinks, his perspective, and I hope you check it out because it's interesting from my point of view with Team Teamloke. I'm here to say that Shaman is a cheater who has manually manipulated the ROM and basically wants to win the series. So I hope all the hate goes to him, and guys, I'll see you soon, alright? That's the end of the summary. See you legends. Teamloke is...
Teamloke 5. Teamloke 5, Teamloke 5, Teamloke 5. For fuck's sake, let's see.
Honestly, I think I'm mainly responsible for the hate toward Teamloke. I've been reflecting on it lately. I want to apologize to my buddy Shaman, who is like a brother and means a lot to me. But basically, I think the problem with Teamloke is that in many ways we're too genuine, too transparent, so to speak. Okay? And let me explain. I've also gathered some very interesting questions that people have asked on Twitter for the Q&A. Really great ones, which I'll answer now. But I think the impression we give... Wait, before anything else, let's do things right. Am I a scatterbrain? This video comes about because there's a lot of hate, a lot of comments complaining about the future of Teamloke. In terms of numbers, well, 80, 90, 100,000 views, really good numbers, really huge. Honestly, with a lot of love and a lot of gratitude. But it's true that there's a part of the audience that's not happy with how the whole Team Teamloke thing has developed. Especially because there's been an imbalance that's been noticeable since the very first episode, pretty much. And, well, it's been one of the most unbalanced Teamlokes that's really stood out. The gap has only been closed once in the series, and a lot of people have complained about it. Of course, when I said that the problem is us, because we're very transparent, it's because, and in part, I'm pointing at myself here, I want to talk about myself when I get upset because of Team Teamloke. We all want to win it, even if people think it's just a product or something. We all like playing to win and having people support us, and reading in the comments about the good plays we make and seeing that people like it and all that. So, do we want to do things right when we lose? Or when we see that there's so much tension in the matches? Or when they do something to us like Dynamax Cannon, if there's pollution or vice versa? The first thing that happens, the first thing we do is get really pissed off, get angry and truly upset from the heart. That's why I think we're very transparent. Because I think when we experience the series so intensely, we get upset, we talk badly to each other, we insult each other because we're touchy, because we're competitive, because we like Team Teamloke. You know what I mean? That makes people experience it even more. If we were just four damn nobodies, like, I don't know, whatever, right?
Wow, they killed the Pokemon. Crazy, we lost.
Then people wouldn't care and they'd stop watching us. But because we're impulsive, because we're just ourselves. Me with my jokes, Zen with his Lazarismo, Chamor who's the loser, and now he's acting like the villain for some reason.
As for me, I have this spark, but even finishing high school is tough.
And overall, we make a team that's very much its own thing. And I apologize. The video starts by saying that I think one of the main problems is me. Because, for example, I know that Chamo was in charge of preparing this ROM because last year we had problems with a few mechanics we wanted to add. With the dark and light Pokemon, there were Pokemon that didn't appear, so we had to repeat it. So it was very complicated. So basically, Chamo decided, since he has the knowledge, to download and prepare the ROM, obviously without adding anything manually. He did the randomization in front of Yosu, there's no problem at all. I mean, nobody thought Chamor was going to tamper with the ROM. And nobody thinks today that Chamor is going to tamper with the ROM. But here's the thing. When I tell fucking Chamor, who really knows how to needle people, who really knows how to push buttons, saying, ha ha ha, you got hit with Iramax Cannon and Splash and Empty Cut, and I get Smog and Kinesis and laughing, and then the tone about the steals and the tone that we're really bad. It makes you want to say, brother, you're not handling another ROM again, because it looks like you did this on purpose, you son of a bitch. Even though deep down in our hearts we know because we're witnesses, because damn, we've worked, I don't know. In the 5th edition of Team Loki, we've already done I don't know how many Trilokes, we've collaborated. All together, we've been doing this for years. This is a business, this is a company, so to speak, and we know what works. People like it. And I think if we're maybe top 2 best team or best Pokemon content in Spanish right now from Loki, well, that's just how it is, period. You know what I mean? For me, we're number 1. For me, I really see it as a product. I think absolutely no one beats us on YouTube in the Pokemon scene online. Call me egotistical or self-centered if you want, but I think the product we make in terms of editing, work, mechanics, new features, details, and community involvement. We carry out the suggestions from people, then we do live shows, we cover it with Giants events, clothing drops. I think that as a concept and in terms of experience, we're number 1, way ahead of the 2nd place. Well, then it's just a matter of personal taste. Getting that exposure and being so competitive, many people think he cheated. I want to apologize because I do get very stressed and often freak out. To Chamor's damn mother, I used a Chamor highlight for the thumbnail, and he's mad because 3 legendaries were brought out against me while he got none. So I don't think the hate the series is getting is fair, but it's understandable. Well, I think it is. And so that we all understand a little better what's going on with the series, I posted a little tweet, okay? I posted a little tweet here, which is right here, okay? What I'm saying is, basically, I want to make a video similar to Josu's, but giving my perspective on the topic. So if anyone had any questions, we'll answer them in the video. And you've sent me a ton of questions. I mean, I don't know, 50 or 60 questions in a short amount of time. And I said, since we're at it, damn, if Legal is putting 5 past Iraq, that's crazy. But anyway, let's get started with the questions, okay? First of all, thanks to everyone who left a comment or gave their feedback. It's really interesting, okay? Here, our friend Reba asks us, I'm actually relatively new, but it's true that I've noticed you seem a bit more burned out than in the previous series. Do you think making this series has become more of a routine than the main purpose of making these series? I don't remember if you've already answered this, but I think it's one of the best questions I've ever been asked. If TeamLocke or TeamLocke is a routine, well, let's see. The truth is that we're lucky, and I think we're practically the only ones in Pokemon. In the Spanish-speaking scene overall, both in LATAM and here in Spain, a brand funds and wants a show to be made, which in this case are TeamLocke and TeamLocke, as you already know that the TeamLocke and TeamLocke formula works really well for the fans. And so, over the course of the series, we generate millions of views. It's true that maybe, I don't know, it's a complicated question. I think it's true that sometimes we're really burned out when it comes to filming, you know? Sometimes we're too tired to film since we just finished other projects and have to juggle multiple things. And maybe having to film, in quotes, because we're obligated to meet certain schedules with the brand, because we've signed a contract with them to provide the series so people can enjoy it and all that. It gets a bit complicated, and that creates some tension. For example, Zen has a very intense schedule. There are times when he works at dawn, other times when maybe he goes 24 hours without sleeping because he has to cover something. So those 24 hours without sleep. Then he just has 4 or 5 free hours that he could use to sleep, but he has to use them to edit or record Teamloke. Obviously, the energy and the friction are there, clashing. You know what I mean. And on top of that, yes, on top of it all, the poor guy has to lose, like it happened in this Teamloke. Well, I think that in the end, that burns you out. Because as I said before, we are transparent people. We want to win the series and make you enjoy it, because winning feels great. I like saying I want Teamloke, but not when I lost Teamloke Remake. I got really upset. I was bothered for a week. I had it on my mind. So yes, I think that trying to optimize to save money and seeing Teamloke as a business brand has also made us have our disagreements many times. It's also true that, look, that's a bad thing, but it's also a good thing. If the brands sponsoring Teamloke weren't there, we probably couldn't do 1 edition a year. Here's why. It's not financially worthwhile, which matters. I've made sacrifices, but it's also a job. Now you also have to spend time editing and recording. But the other guy gets up at 6 in the morning and goes to unload the truck. That's how it is, you know? So I think it's worth it. Another very interesting question, okay? Have you considered leaving the series due to the hate? Do you think Teamloke works better as a random format or with a hardcore ROM? I'll be honest about the hate, okay? I hardly noticed it. And the truth is, if you look at the latest comments, they're pretty harsh. That's just how it is. The comments are tougher. But the volume of comments and participation in Teamloke and TeamLocke is incredible. So, I mean, just recently an analyst did this thing with brands to see if maybe someday, I don't know, they might do a report on series and all that stuff. He told me that he had seen a lot of products and that our series had more or less the same ratio of likes, comments, and all that stuff. Series like, for example, Fola's series or top historic videos from Americans in terms of support and comments both on Instagram and Twitter. I upload an episode of TeamLocke and Instagram blows up, Twitter blows up, YouTube comments are 200, 300, 400. So the hate has been crazy. Well, I don't think it's that much either. I understand that after watching 30 episodes where one person gets 20 deaths, you might say, look, this is boring, I'm sorry, but it's boring too. The game hasn't helped much either. We want Teamloke to be a multi-region experience. If one day we get Kalos, we go to Kalos. If we get Kanto or Emerald, then it's Kanto or Emerald, and we do Teamloke in that ROM. Various ones, each with unique mechanics. Aren't we always pushing to innovate? And I think Galar was a good experience with the whole Dynamax thing, with those crazy battles and all that. And I don't know. I think at no point have we ever considered leaving Team TeamLocke or Team TeamLocke. First, because we would be breaking a contract. I'm being transparent, we'd be breaking a contract. The club they don't kill us. and Maggie or the company that's sponsoring us would kill us, but we have a great time. I really enjoy getting competitive, getting tilted, and playing with my brothers. I mean, I have an amazing time. It's incredible. It's what I want to do the most. I get it when the follower says this because honestly, I look forward to Loke time every day. I've done it 30,000 times. I enjoy Gear Goal. And I also enjoy TeamLocke, Teamloke, and TriLoke. I'm going to keep recording and playing with them until I'm 60 years old. I would live it to the fullest. So I think that as for even thinking, I don't know, of thinking about leaving the series, not at all, not at all, not at all, not at all. And I think it would work better in a random or a hardcore run, like a really hardcore run. That's for TriLoke, which is a show where maybe there are a lot more deaths, more messes with lives. Maybe we lose years, tapes, lives per series, and Team Teamloke. We want it to feel more random and special when a new Pokemon appears. The magic is in keeping the two series as two different formats, which I think the audience really values. That's another great question. It's going to be a video, I think, kind of, I don't know, but it's going to be interesting. Do you think that currently the route has too many cards, or do you think the more the better? I think that the more cards, the better, because each episode is very different from the previous one, as long as the useless cards are removed. I mean, if we have a banned one, Beta Poke, well, you just don't care, right? So I think that we've done better with card corrections in other series than in this one. Honestly, I think we need to work a bit more on it. Joshua and I have come to the conclusion that for the next Teamloke, we're going to start working on it many months in advance. We're going to sit down. He and I will review all the Teamlokes and TriLokes we've done, analyzing the good things and the bad things so we can improve. And then we'll propose it to our colleagues, and each colleague can do their magic and do their own thing. But I think we've been missing a bit of maturity in the idea of development. The ideas we've discussed. When we meet once, twice, or 3 times a year, we each bring ideas from different places. And we've been missing that everything fits together well and that everything matches up. You know what I mean? So I think the more cards, the better, as long as all the cards are useful and each one stands out. What do you think? Objectively, is there a difference in player skill level among the 4 of us? Do you notice it a lot? Don't say names if you don't want to. Obviously, brother, I think so. Chamor is the best player, by far. Chamor is someone who plays a lot, whose main content is series. That's his thing. We try to mess around more, but that's just our personality because we like to do more. It's funny because I swear to God, I'm telling you openly here, I'm the worst Pokemon player in Spain, by far. I'm way worse than the next one. I'm terrible at playing Pokemon. I don't know the type chart. I don't know how to make good switches. I don't know how to build well. I'm freaking useless. Except maybe when I have to play a game I've played like 30,000 times. Like, for example, Pokemon Indigo. What? I know how to build the grass team for the water gym, but I expect a counter. That's where I excel, like everyone else on YouTube who's played countless Nuzlockes. But as for my personality, I really like jokes. Messing with Yosu. Also Zen, it's maybe a hybrid between Yosu and Chamor, where he also plays really well and all that. But he's also running around like a chicken with its head cut off, because of what I said, because of the tiredness, because of the burnout. But in general, there are a lot of differences. If I, for example, played a Loke with Chamor, he would totally wipe the floor with me in 4K. So I think it's obvious if Chamor is picking up on everything, Chamor can really fine-tune a team. Chamor knows when to stall and when not to, right? And I said, no, I don't throw or ask on purpose, but I just don't like playing by stalling. It's just a different format and style of play. And I think that's really noticeable too, especially with the deaths. Of course, careful. Interesting question, Bombasso. Will there be more members for the series in the future, turning it into a 3-team Loke? I don't think so. Team Loke is a 4-person series. 4 people per team. And I think the format is pure hardcore Team Loke. Loke is a series of 3 gameplays, 3 camps. That's it. Yes, that's true. Not long ago, Josu and I had a few ideas, especially Josu, who suggested a few ideas to me. Trying to make other projects similar to 3 Loke, but with a different approach, for example, and more random profiles. For example, Josu, who is a very outgoing person, very random and so on, and I am also that kind of person. I'd much rather crack a joke than go for a highlight play. And maybe look for a 3rd member outside of the NCES for a new project. And both of us thought of Cappy. If Cappy is watching this, well, he has no freaking idea. It's wild. But maybe we want to do a show with Cappy, just with a new name and format, using roulette wheels or something else instead of cards. I think so, maybe. If not this year, then next year. Maybe it's time to try other formats while still supporting 3 Loke and Team Loke. Honestly, so I think yes, in the future, more members for Team Loke, no, but new projects, very likely. Then we have here, it says, I understand that for many creators it's complicated because of scheduling and not uploading a video every day. But have you ever considered doing a 3Loke or TeamLoke with members who aren't the NCs? Well, I pretty much answered this question in the previous message, but in theory, we've suggested it. To Folagor. Folagor doesn't dislike the idea. I mean, he thinks he would have a really good time doing this kind of format. Fola. Every time he sees us, the Enses and me, we can meet in person and do something together or record a video at Giants and so on. Well, we laugh a lot because we're very similar. We have pretty much the same sense of humor. And damn, we've known each other for almost a decade now. So we get along really well. So what's the problem? He has his own schedule, his own way of doing things, and a local setup that's very different from ours. In part, considering how hard it is nowadays to grow in Poke, being so radically different is also what has helped us, in a way, to make a place for ourselves at that table. You know what I mean? If we did things the way Folagor does, maybe it would be better. I don't even get 10 views and I just get completely screwed in 4K. By working together, we create a unique product, very different from the usual. Well, it's the Loloke par excellence all over the world, which is the Loloke of Fola. I think that's what makes us different and lets us reach another market. But I'm sure that someday we'll try to turn things around so we can include Fola in a product like this. I think it'll be fun since he'll enjoy it, and we just need to figure out how to get him hooked. But I think, like I said, we're going to talk. We've already talked. We've gone several times, and we believe, I mean, of course, 100%, he's going to have an amazing time. The hardest part is figuring out how to do it, but let's give it our best shot, okay? Also, that's an interesting point from earlier. About Pokemon Sword and Shield, do you feel that choosing the Pokemon Sword and Shield game was a mistake? For me, the series is fun, but it's one of the worst because the game felt horrible. As it goes on, at least the skins try to make up for it, besides the difficulty, right? Let's see. I don't think so. I think we've only made a mistake maybe twice in our lives. When it came to choosing a ROM Teamloke 4, I think it was with the Run and Boom one. That, for me, was the biggest mistake we made when choosing a Pokemon game, by far. So, did none of you enjoy this series? In the end, the deaths were just for the sake of dying. We were annoyed. We didn't want to record anymore. Every battle required a huge, insane, crazy effort, right? The raw footage for each episode was 2 or 3 hours, and in the end, we only got 40 minutes that were badly edited, poorly put together. That was a mistake we're never going to make again. Nothing like that, right? With respect to Sword and Shield, I think that's the second mistake. Well, for a lot of people, yes. I think the wild area kind of cuts down on the variety, doesn't it? Because, I don't know, the fact that the Pokemon are strong and you can't fight them most of the time, the raids that aren't really used well, the whole wild area thing is a big part of the game's progression. Maybe we made a mistake. I wanted to do it in Galar. I suggested Galar. Zen suggested Black and White back in the day, huh? I don't think Black and White is a good game for a Teamloke. Zen, do you think it is? So, well, in the comments we read all of them, but I think it's just a little bit lacking. I don't know, but, well, I think you learn from everything, you really do. That's just how things are. Interesting question. What's the process behind the series? How do you divide everything up, and how do you come up with ideas? A hug, Oscar. Okay, to start off, sending a big hug and greetings to Giants, who are basically like our father. Giants begins negotiating with a brand a year ahead when creating this content. We're actually already in talks, though we can't name the brand. A series with Chamos Dual is special, followed by some kind of tri-lock next year featuring several brands. So, this is a very long negotiation process. Very, very, very dense, very intense, with many parties involved and all that. So, Giants starts negotiating for a year, begins to give examples of success, examples of brand integration, how we work, number of episodes, estimated views, more or less the design, all that stuff, and the brand accepts it. Us, in the meantime, every time we do a shoot in Malaga or whenever we feel like it, we all get together and we always do it here in Malaga. Usually we come here to Malaga. We have 2 go-to food spots. One is going to Pisa Pino, which is a pizzeria here in Malaga that I really like, and the other is going to Gotham. And topics always come up like, I don't know, if we do another block, what could we call it? What could we do? Which ROM would we play on? What could we improve? And we start brainstorming, and maybe out of those 2 or 3 hours of late night talk, we come up with 2 interesting ideas, right? From those 2 ideas, at the next meeting, we say, okay, we have this and this. How do we mix them with the story of the series? Well, with this. Okay, we talk to Yayas. How's the negotiation going? Well, look, we're almost sure that this brand wants the series, so how can we integrate that brand into the series? Let's think about the story of the game. How can we include the brand? And we start working, making sketches, coming up with ideas and so on, and then we move on to the more creative and graphic design process. Many times we assign it to someone like Kyoraka or Ruko. Again, Zen, who excels at Photoshop, handles all the card designs, including this one. And maybe he improves the layout that the designer has made for us. I'm usually the one editing, so I often edit the trailer. If there's any ROM hacking to do, like adding a rare candy or maybe some event in Pokemon or something like that, I'll take care of it. I handle that. He usually does. Let's be the most organized person of all to plan the promos and stuff. I mean, we all have a very important role and we all work together as a team. We create a series draft, get approval, record a few days in advance, start with the trailer, and follow the brand's publishing schedule. That's how Trilo and Teamloke are produced, regardless of the edition. It's a thorough process. I mean, it's one of the series with the most work, production, and detail. Currently, I think it's the most elaborate series on all of Pokemon YouTube, without a doubt. Let's try another question, alright? This one's really interesting. It's great. Have you ever gotten really upset after a recording due to production issues like Zen's PC and then had to deal with criticism or scolding? Yes. What you see when someone gets angry in Tricloak or in Teamloke, it's because they're genuinely angry. Me, for example, with Zen's PC, we had to repeat episode 3 like 4 times. And that son of a bitch, just because he felt like it, didn't want to take the PC to the computer guy. Or I don't know, what can I tell you? When someone really abuses a deal, for example, Zen himself in Tricloak 4, I think it was me who wiped. He finishes and says, I'm getting back all the Pokemon you stole from me in the series. And maybe recovers 20 Pokemon just like that. Or when we started getting wilder and all that, and I end up burned out, I end up angry. In fact, I can't play the audio because it's private and I don't like sharing audio of my friends and all that. But many times, just joking around, I say, dude, you're way too into this. You're obsessed. You're a son of a bitch. You shouldn't have gone so far. And I get worked up. And when I'm angry, maybe when I'm playing, he keeps talking nonsense and I'm behind him thinking, dude, shut up. This isn't the time. I'm really pissed off and worked up. We all feel it a lot. So, have we ever ended up upset? Yes, we've ended up pissed off saying, dude, I don't want to record anymore. I'm done. And that's it. But I think that's also the magic, that naturalness. I mean, you guys watch us, I think also partly because, damn, you're used to seeing us like we're school buddies. We're all together playing. That's the impression we want to give. And many people feel the same, right? That we're all together in the same place, playing and joking around with you guys. And if that wasn't real, I think it would lose a lot and people would notice. So when you see us getting competitive, it's because we're really competitive. Really competitive, okay? Well, look, there's another question that's very similar. I didn't know, but I caught it anyway. Have you ever really gotten mad at each other? If an episode has a lot of disrespect and the other team lost or there was abuse, mainly due to disrespect, we haven't said truly outrageous things about my girlfriend, I don't know, with my girlfriend. They've said a billion outrageous things about mothers, Joshua, with all the mom stuff. He was obsessed with Zen getting cheated on. We've said it 30 billion times about the sisters. About the dead? About someone's damn mother? Huh? And in general, never do we say to each other, man, this bothered me, this disrespect, we don't like this, we don't like it because, you know, because we're brothers. We mess with everything, so everything's fair game against us, honestly. What is true is that many times we've cut out some things because we went too far. We've made some really crude jokes, which I honestly swear to God, I think humor should be free and that you should be able to say anything, right? On social media, well, on video platforms, because, you know, understand me, we're not going to say things that are disrespectful, okay? Really crude, like really extreme symbolism and stuff. But expressions or silly things that we might say off camera with friends and all that sometimes slip out or we're afraid of crossing the line, right? When there's a brand behind us, like these brands that are supporting us financially, then it's true that there are edits and it's like, this has to be cut. You can't say this, but it's disrespectful. Big. We've said outrageous things to each other, but we've never cut anything between us. Here's another question from Ruben. What inspired you to start Teamloke? They're impressive and truly refreshing compared to the usual Lockies and teams. It happened while we were on Discord, just the guys chatting and goofing off as usual. Someone says, let's play Fortnite, and we start playing Fortnite. Someone says, let's play Fortnite. Sorry, I mean Unite, and we start playing Unite and we play with the kid. Looking at silly memes with Joshua, laughing at a guy who uploads a video of the best plays of the extra chest turkey pawn, and we laugh. And since we're practically the same in all, we say, hey, let's all play this together. And since we've created a community among ourselves, we go for it. Come on, let's do it like that. And that's how the project came together. At first, it was really rough, obviously, but we had a lot of fun. We laughed a ton. Man, wow, everything was so funny, so much fun, really. It was amazing. Seriously, what an adventure. I'm telling you, these were such fun moments that I'll tell my kids about them. Like, man, I laughed and had such a great time with every game that it felt like I was inside the game world. I've had a much better time in my life with a Team Teamloke than maybe with a new Pokemon game, since I've been playing Pokemon since I was a kid. I've enjoyed a Team Teamloke or a Triloke 1,000 times more. So that's where it comes from, and it comes from wanting to do something different, but while still being ourselves. And, you know, hey, so if we get together and do what we normally do, but record it, let's see how it goes, and that's pretty much how it all started, honestly. All right, last two questions, okay? Are you planning to continue with the Triloke and Teamloke format, or are you planning to explore new formats? I feel like the magic of these series is the freshness compared to the traditional Lokes, and it would be good to explore other, fresher formats so we don't overdo it. Well, Crow, honestly, that's a fact. That's a fact, really. I think it's a super, super interesting message. Look, basically, like I said before, I think so. That in the end, sooner or later, we'll have to work with other types of context and other things so that the formula doesn't get stale. Thank God we've done 5 editions of Triloke, 5 editions of Team Teamloke. That's 10 series. Practically the same people, 5, 6, 7 years doing the same thing, and the numbers keep going up, and people like it more and more and more and more. Something completely random and super mega crazy. So, well, I think, yes, we will work to improve and to do cooler things. Of course, absolutely, but we should be aware that people like what's already there, and that's it. And I think that's the perfect summary. And an awesome ending to this whole round of questions, which, by the way, are all really great questions. Thank you very much for the interest, and damn, for the love that comes through in the questions. I get the feeling that very little time has passed, just 2 months, between Triloke and Teamloke. They're the 2 most important products, right? Maybe that has affected the development of the series. Why create a series like Teamloke? He says, you say, because creating a series like Teamloke takes time. Anyway, I'm enjoying the series as always. And then he adds, but I get the feeling that there are some things that could be improved. I think the whole thing with the wheels, sword and shield, for example, I haven't quite gotten used to. Even so, I think it's been a great series, and many thanks to the 4 of you for bringing that content. Yes, obviously there was little time between Triloke remake and Teamloke. That's just how it is. There wasn't much time. Triloke went on for too long. We began a little over a month late. We should have started a little over a month earlier, which would have meant an average break of 3 months. As I said before, I already had the development of Teamloke negotiated and on the table. When we make a product like Teamloke, which has a big development and sponsorship, it's important to know that the brand is the one that gives you the content guidelines and, let's say, some deadlines. Why? Maybe, like with Magi, they're interested in us discussing Dragon Ball or topics about both Magi and Dragon Ball. And that's because during that time, in that period, they're being released in supermarkets. If instead of doing it now, I do it in December, when the collaboration might already be over, what's the point? So we have to adapt to the sponsorship and the brand's schedule, and thank God Maggie is one of the most incredibly flexible brands I've ever known in my life. Maggie keeps saying funny things. They ask us to please be ourselves. They understand that we really like the product, because that's just how it is with Maggie. We like it, and I think promoting it is really cool because they give us a lot of freedom to do it. So I honestly think in this case we miscalculated. Not Teamloke, but the development of Triloke. I would have liked it to go a little slower, but that's just how things are. If we committed a year ago to negotiate with a brand and put out a series as cool as Teamloke under that brand, that's how it is, man. That's how it is. It was our mistake to have developed Triloke that way, and that's it. Not much more to say, honestly, but I think so. For the next series, obviously there's going to be a decent break. It will be many months before the Hens Gensis reunite as a group. I have a series with Joshua coming up soon on Twitch. With Chambro, we're negotiating with a brand. Let's see if we can do something really cool for the end of the year. I think we have some things prepared for next year as well. There's also a really cool series coming soon, and also in the summer. I mean, in general, we have to keep working, we have to keep dealing with the ups and downs, and that's it. And if you get the chance to work with a big brand like that, take it, because it's amazing, it's an opportunity, it's something wonderful, and that's it, family. No, I don't want to continue. I think it's a very interesting video, and I think I've answered things you've been asking me for a long time, right? I like it, I really do. Family, I'll read your comments, okay? I'll read your comments, and maybe I'll make a second part about the comments from this video, but for the secondary channel. We'll see. Family, I'll read your comments. It's very important, okay? Big hug, champs. Bye.